Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thanks for stopping by. The new round of China-US trade talks is underway in Beijing. Chinese Vice Premier Liu He appears at the negotiation site, seen from this photo. You know that I'm highly skeptical, although I think Trump will be incentivized to declare some kind of truce, but I don't think he will be allowed to do that. Russia's state TV proudly quotes senior Kremlin aide Vladislav Surkov, about whom I've spoken several times, and when I did my Mind Speak included his philosophy. And he's written that Putin's big political machine is only gaining momentum. And essentially admits that Russia interferes not only in elections and referendums across the globe, but alters Western consciousness. This is true. And I concluded by saying Surkov has practically single-handedly made Putin an information master. You see them both here, Putin and Surkov, in 2011. And his philosophy is quite interesting. And there was a very interesting article some years ago in Real Clear Politics, and it talks of a ceaseless shape-shifting that is unstoppable because it is undefinable. It is exactly what Surkov is alleged to have done in the Ukraine this year. In typical fashion, as the war began, Surkov published a short story about something he called non-linear war. A war where you never know what the enemy are really up to, or even who they are. The underlying aim, Surkov says, is not to win the war, but to use the conflict to create a constant state of destabilized perception in order to manage and control. That goes back to 2016 December, when I wrote From Feeding the Hothouse Conspiracy Frenzy Online, a constant state of destabilized perception, ceaseless shapeshifting, timely and judicious doses of WikiLeaks leaks which drained Hillary's bona fides and her turnout and motivated Trump's. What we have witnessed is something remarkable and noteworthy. Same article, I said Putin has proven himself an information master and his adversaries are his information victims. US warships sailed in China-claimed waters. 2 US warships sailed through waters claimed by China in the South China Sea. The guided missile destroyers traveled within 12 nautical miles of Mischief Reef in the disputed Spratly Islands, Reuters reported. The reef is one of 7 artificial structures that China has built by reclaiming land, which the US alleges the Chinese have militarized. And that takes me to an article I wrote in October last year, War is Coming. I said, I was referencing the US military is reportedly planning to send US warships, combat aircraft and troops through the South China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, and other contested waterways. That was in October, in a series of exercises designed to send a message to Beijing in November. And I was saying that the incident with the USS Decatur, where a Chinese warship came within 45 yards of that ship in the South China Sea, is surely a precursor. Iran celebrated the revolution's 40th anniversary. On Friday evening, I attended a party by Mehdi Atefat, the senior Iranian diplomat in Washington, to mark, as the embossed invitation noted, the glorious occasion of the 40th anniversary of the victory of the Islamic Revolution. I've gone to Iran's commemorations over the years for insight on the state of play or degree of hostility between Tehran and Washington. During the Shah's era, Iran's diplomatic mission was famed for its White House connections and its hedonistic, caviar-infused parties, attended by the likes of Elizabeth Taylor Andy Warhol and Barbara Walters on Embassy Row. It closed after President Carter broke off relations in 1980, a few months after students seized the US Embassy in Tehran. The statements emanating from Tehran on Friday were darker and snarkier. The US regime is the embodiment of evil, violence, creating chaos and warmongering, the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei said in a speech to military officers. On his English-language Twitter account, Khamenei vowed the Iranian nation will not abandon death to America. He then clarified, down with USA means down with Trump, Bolton and Pompeo. It means death to the American politicians currently in power. It means death to the few people running that country. We have nothing against the American nation. The Islamic Republic, of course, is struggling. Today, the country is facing the biggest pressure and economic sanctions in the past 40 years, Rouhani warned in the speech. Inflation estimated at 35%, unemployment a problem, and of course 70% a massive slide in the currency as well. On that note, this is a photograph of the Shah of Iran looking out to sea in Gilligan's Island, Panama. He was exiled there because no one else, none of his erstwhile allies would have him. Reza Pahlavi, who was in Texas as an 18-year-old air cadet when his family lost its grip on power, says the mood of the country is as unhappy now as it was in the months leading to the Islamic Revolution. I wrote a piece some years ago, October 2013, at a time when the two Husseins, Barack Obama and Hassan Rouhani, were enjoying a rapprochement. And I wrote then the Iranian Revolution in 1979, when Ayatollah Khomeini overthrew Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran. The Shah was the second, the last monarch of the House of Pahlavi, otherwise known as the Peacock Throne. I also said if the Pax Americana in the Middle East was a three-legged stool, with the US the most important leg, then Israel and Saudi Arabia are the other two legs of that stool. And it's been a losing sequence in US-Iran relations that goes all the way back to that revolutionary moment.